today I would like to talk about the prosperity law of increase. The prosperity law of increase. And it's the universe is always expanding. Increase is the natural order of things. Increase is what's supposed to happen. And if things aren't increasing, something's wrong. Remind yourself frequently that increase is the natural law. Increase is the natural order. Expansion and contraction happen in this world because this is a world of duality. So in this world, we think, there can't be day until there's night. There can't be up unless there's down. There can't be in unless there's out. There can't be on unless there's off. But in reality, outside of this closed system that we live in of duality, there's only expansion. There's no constriction. There's no retraction whatsoever. That doesn't exist. The universe is only expanding. That's the only truth. So when you notice that there's a problem in your prosperity where things seem to be contracting or standing still, you can call upon the law of expansion, and you do that by simply calling on it. You say, I now call upon the law of expansion. My finances are now expanding. I now call upon the law of increase. My finances are now increasing. Part of the reason why the natural law of increase gets thwarted is because we have free will. We have free will on how we can use our minds. Now, we may not think that we are choosing to constrict. We may not think that. We may not think that we're choosing to constrict our finances or that we are stopping the expansion that is our natural birthright. We may not believe that that's true. Just the same way that somebody that when they wear perfume, they don't smell it anymore after a few minutes, but everybody else does, right? Everybody else smells your perfume but you because you've gotten used to it. So that's the case with all these laws. A lot of times people will hear about things like the law of expansion and they'll say, well, if that's true, then how come, I'm not expanding? I'm not thwarting the law of expansion. I want more money. You don't know what you're talking about. Well, the truth is that you don't realize that you do attenuate that law of expansion, that you do circumvent that law of expansion, but it's so habitual you don't even notice that you're doing it because you were taught to do that. It's interesting because in the craft you hear a lot about ancestor reverence, and it's true. It's good to revere your ancestors. We are where we are because we are standing on the shoulders of our ancestors. But there's a lot about our ancestors that aren't so hot. There's a lot that we don't want to follow in the footsteps. We can acknowledge and respect our ancestors without worshiping them, without falling in line with their precepts. And our ancestors made up all kinds of weird stuff, all kinds of superstitious nonsense about the way the world works, and they passed it on to their children and their grandchildren, and then some, and then some, and then some. All cycles of abuse start with our ancestors and are carried on. So not everything that our ancestors did was all that hot. And one of the problems that we have with these thought forms that are so ancient is this idea that we think we know how the world looks, and we think we know how the world works, and we think, no, it has to constrict before it can expand. It has to go dark before it goes light. It has to be this way or that way. And so that's the only lens through which we can view the world. And so when we hear that the universe is constantly expanding and that our prosperity is constantly expanding, and we look at and we say, but it's not. But it's not constantly expanding. It's constricting. Well, that's showing us how we have been trained through our lifetimes to view the world. So we don't have the ability to get out of that thought system by ourselves, just any more than we have the ability to grow a flower by ourselves or to make the sun shine by ourselves. We have to be shown from a higher perspective how the world works. And so when you're in a position where your prosperity seems like it's always constantly shutting down and it's not expanding the way it's supposed to, it's because you're looking at the world in a certain way. So instead of thinking, well, now I need to find a new way to look at the world, ask instead. Ask your higher self. Ask your spirit guide. Ask your inner teacher. Ask your soul. However it works, ask the goddess, whatever terminology works for you. Show me the truth about how the universe is expanding. Show me the truth about what's available to me financially. Show me a different way to see this so that I can have the prosperity and the expanded prosperity that is my birthright, that I was born here to have. I was born to have those things. Then what you're doing is instead of you saying the way it's supposed to be, you're allowing yourself to be shown, to be taught, to be guided so that you can see things the right way. And the way you see things is the way they become. And you have had no infrastructure placed in. You've had no modeling of that before. Of seeing your prosperity is constantly expanding, constantly growing, constantly becoming wealthier and wealthier and more prosperous, just as the universe keeps expanding. Look at nature. It doesn't just, nature's constantly giving more. There's more seeds inside of an orange than you will ever need orange trees. Right? Because each orange tree has so many oranges. And then if each of those seeds gets planted, then there's so many more orange trees that have so many more oranges, and so on and so on and so on. And that's how you're supposed to be. That's how your prosperity is supposed to work. Just like that. Just like the way it is. But because we've been taught for so many generations, for so long, that this is how it is, we don't even know that we're allowed to look at the world in a different way and see things in a different way and then have experiences that show us something that is different. And that's why we do things like spells. We don't do spells so that we can conjure certain effects for us that we've decided that we want. I mean, you can do it that way, and you can have a modicum of success for that. But if you do a really good spell, what you're doing is you are asking your deep mind to experience a thought form that is so different from the thought forms that are creating the experiences that you're having now that your whole world changes. And in order to do that, you need help from a higher power that knows how things really do work, that has the conviction that we don't have. Does that make sense? So if you don't even know how to look at an expanded view of your prosperity, how are you supposed to conjure that? All you're going to do is conjure a different sort of experience of the same thing that you've been having over and over and over again because you have no model. But if you ask your inner guide, if you ask your higher self, if you ask a higher power, an infinite intelligence, to show you instead what your finances are supposed to look like, what your prosperity really is supposed to look like, then we are in a place where God's doing this spell for us, or whatever you want to call it, where those thought forms are being installed according to how we were created to be. So that's the best way that you can do a spell, is to ask for a new expanded vision of whatever it is that you're looking for, whether it's love or money or health or safety or whatever it is, whatever spell that you're casting. Instead of casting based on I know what I want and therefore I'm going to sorcerously create an experience for myself, which you can do. We've all done it. I mean, I've been in the craft for long enough to have had plenty of sorcery, and there's nothing sinful in sorcery. It's just that you never get happy with sorcery. Sorcery can't make you happy. It's impossible, because sorcery is based on you projecting what you think you want. And if you knew what you wanted, and if you knew how to be happy, you'd already be happy. Right? So high magic rather than sorcery is going for the same result, but getting there in a much better way, because now we have this idea of this or something better. I think I know what I want. I want expanded prosperity, but I want you to show me what that really means. I want you to show me what that means, because you have the ability to create expanded universes. I'm lucky to just get my bank not to be overdrawn, right? You are capable of creating flowers and trees and oceans and sunsets and universes. I'm lucky if I can get up on time. Right, so it's really important to see the difference, and it's not that we're deprecating ourselves. We're just noticing that we didn't create ourselves. We didn't create ourselves. We're not responsible for creating the universe. We're not responsible for the sunlight. We're not responsible for any of that. We're responsible for being the child of the universe, for being that innocent child of the universe, and to be used by that universe in order to create the healings and to do what we were shown here, what we were created to do. Each of us has a function. Each of us has a holy function that's very unique unto us. You do. Your talents, your abilities, your experiences, your whatever you have, all things that make you unique, those are special. That wasn't an accident. Right? You were created so that you could be of use to the universe, right? So when you are allowing yourself to be used like that, to be used as a vessel of good for the world, you know what you get? Everything you want. You get everything you want. It's not like I'm going to sacrifice my life for the service of the world. No, you're saying, please use me. Please show me a different way to see things. Please show me the world as you want me to see it. And when you do that, all of your talents are utilized in their highest possible way. And then you become even stronger, even better, even more valuable. You at least you express more value. And when you express more value because of the fact that you are now functioning at your optimum level, then you see things the way that you're supposed to see them, and your prosperity becomes real, meaning that it's constantly expanding, just like the rest of the universe. You're starting to function like you're supposed to, rather than using your mind to stifle yourself and stay stuck in these prisons that we've had for generation after generation after generation. They're little prisons in our mind. And the ego mind is really good at that. And we've been taught to do that for generation after generation, lifetime after lifetime. And so it's really just a matter of saying, I want to see things in a new way. I want to see the expansion of my prosperity, just like the universe sees it. The universe already sees you as expanding and prospering and growing and thriving. That's how the universe already sees you. The fact that you don't see it that way means that you're not seeing things correctly, and that means that you are creating experiences in your life that are not right. And ultimately, they're not even real. I mean, if you want to get to the nitty-gritty of it, if you're not seeing things the way the universe sees things, then you're not really seeing things at all. You're hallucinating. You're dreaming. You're having a nightmare. You're in an alternate universe that doesn't really exist, like we've been for generation after generation after generation. The reality is still happening simultaneously to this one. And so what we're asking for when we're asking to see the expansion of our prosperity is we are asking to see who we are and how we really are, who we really are. If you were to see who you really are, you'd be shocked at how powerful you are. You'd be shocked at how big you are. Big, giant, huge. You are a star. That's how big you are. You're that huge. And that you are a star that keeps expanding and expanding and expanding. And all of your prosperity is part of that. So all of your money problems and things like that, they're not part of that star energy. They're not part of really what's going on. So if you ask to be shown the truth of who you are over and over and over again, then these rituals, these spells, these things that we do, they start to work in a very profound manner in order to show you the truth about who you are. And when you see things a certain way, things become that certain way. So you want to see things the way God sees things, and then you will have a very holy life. and that includes expanded prosperity. So call upon that law of expansion over and over and over again. Ask to be shown the truth of who you are financially rather than the illusion. All right, well, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for spending some time with me today. I can't wait to work with you again. And until that time, blessed be.